Are you sure he's still up there? My sister runs away all the time.
Yeah, I don't think you can run away from home.
As Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage Season 2 continues gaining momentum, viewers are gearing up for Episode 4 with an emotional mix of curiosity, hope, and dread, especially as the latest sneak peek footage and dialogue hints at an unlikely dynamic forming between Georgie and Rueben. The show has skillfully balanced family comedy with grounded character drama, but Season 2 has stepped into much deeper waters by exploring identity, responsibility, relational habits, long-term emotional wounds, and the complicated role that other people play in shaping or healing a marriage. Now, with Rueben stepping more visibly into Georgie and Mandy's world, fans are beginning to wonder whether Georgie's story arc is maturing toward real growth, or if new relational tension will push him into another cycle of insecurity, jealousy, and avoidant behavior. Episode 4 looks poised to answer a large part of that question, and early clues strongly suggest that Georgie may be forced to confront emotions he has spent years either laughing through or ignoring. However, the surprising twist is that Rueben may not be entering the picture as a rival to defeat, but rather as someone who unknowingly challenges Georgie to evolve for the better. This storyline is resonating strongly among fans because Georgie has always been a character who combines heartfelt ambition with genuine vulnerability. Yet he is also someone who often complicates his own path because he struggles with communication, assumes the worst when he feels threatened, and typically tries to fix painful emotional moments with humor or temporary escape rather than direct conversation. Mandy, on the other hand, represents emotional depth, maturity, expectations, and long-term planning, which creates a dynamic that is compelling but difficult. Season 1 gave viewers a taste of what the newly married couple would be dealing with, but Season 2 is taking a far more serious angle by presenting conflict that cannot be solved through casual romantic gestures or comedic relief. Now, with Rueben re-entering the narrative and becoming a bigger presence, Georgie might be forced to face a type of emotional challenge that he cannot walk away from, joke about, or resolve through apologies alone. The sneak peek clip and early episode description emphasize that Georgie and Rueben will finally share scenes that are not simply short, awkward comedic brushes, but rather meaningful moments that reflect how two very different men relate to Mandy and the life she is trying to build for herself. One represents her past and her history, while the other represents her future and her chosen family path. The possibility that these two men could end up forming a surprising friendship is something no one predicted early in the series. Yet narratively, it makes sense because both characters carry insecurities, complicated relationships with responsibility, and emotional hang-ups that they mask through different personality traits. Rueben may initially be viewed as an antagonist, simply because he represents a version of Mandy's life that Georgie is trying to replace or overcome, but his presence may actually become a catalyst for Georgie's growth, forcing him to redefine the meaning of commitment, fatherhood, emotional maturity, and the difference between loving someone and being prepared to maintain that love long-term. One of the fascinating aspects of the Episode 4 sneak peek is that it does not portray Rueben in a one-dimensional way, meant only to create jealousy or dramatic friction. Instead, Rueben appears more reflective, calm, and emotionally aware than viewers may have expected. This creates an emotional landscape where Georgie will have to decide whether he sees Rueben as a threat to eliminate or a mirror that reveals his own inner fears. If Georgie chooses jealousy, sarcasm, or avoidance, the storyline could turn painful, pushing the marriage arc into a darker and more uncertain direction. If Georgie chooses maturity, empathy, and self-reflection, he could finally unlock the character growth that the audience has been hoping for since his early days in young Sheldon. Thus, the true question in episode 4 is not simply whether Georgie and Rueben can get along, but whether Georgie can finally let go of his instinctive insecurity and accept that personal confidence, not competition, is the foundation of adult relationships. The show appears to be exploring a new thematic angle this season, one that revolves around emotional integration rather than emotional avoidance. Mandy has been portrayed as someone who refuses to live in the shadow of unresolved trauma or unspoken expectations, which means she will eventually require Georgie to evolve beyond surface-level emotional effort. Episode 4 might showcase the early stages of Georgie stepping into this challenge, not because Mandy demands he get along with Rueben, but because his ability to show courage in emotionally uncomfortable situations could prove whether he has what it takes to maintain a long-lasting marriage. Instead of simply focusing on whether Georgie and Rueben will get along, the deeper narrative question becomes whether Georgie is prepared to stop viewing life as a competition for emotional territory and start viewing it as a collaborative journey where confidence comes from maturity rather than possession. Based on tone, pacing, and character framing within the sneak peek, Episode 4 looks like it will center on 3 emotional layers: unspoken fears, unexpected empathy, and the redefinition of masculine connection. Historically, in sitcoms, when 2 men connected to the same woman are put into uncomfortable proximity, the writing often leans into jealousy or comedic rivalry. However, this show seems ready to break away from that predictable formula by potentially allowing the situation to evolve in a more meaningful direction. Rueben may not want Mandy back, and Georgie may not lose anything by being kind or open-minded. In fact, Ruben's presence may not be about Mandy at all, but about showing Georgie what kind of emotional man he can become if he truly embraces adulthood. Another layer of intrigue is whether Rueben might indirectly help Georgie see Mandy not as someone he has finally won, but as someone he must continually choose, protect, and respect through emotional responsibility. Marriage is not simply about love, nor is it about securing a partner. It is about growth, communication, and mutual accountability. Georgie has long shown love, but he has not always shown clarity or confidence. Ruben's presence may force Georgie to face the difference between loving Mandy and deserving her trust,